Good morning, I'm Marissa and welcome back to Calvary Kids Sunday School. We have a lot of fun things planned for today, and to get ready for that we need to have a few things prepped. One, you're going to need your Bible so we can do our Bible drill today. We're also going to need a few things printed off from the Calvary Baptist Church website. So if you go to that website, click on the House Church button, you'll find what you need there. So as you can tell, we have a lot of fun things planned today, but to kick it off, we are going to start with a song.
There are 12 disciples Jesus called to help him: Simon, Peter, Andrew, James, his brother John, Philip, Thomas, Matthew, James, the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, Judas, and Bartholomew. There are 12 disciples Jesus called to help him: Simon, Peter, Andrew, James, his brother John, Philip, Thomas, Matthew, James, the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, Judas, and Bartholomew.
Now we're going to review the 12 disciples. You're going to help me fill in their names in these boxes. If you know the answer, shout it out. Here we go. On the top row, we have two sets of brothers. One was John's disciple, but then he met Jesus. What was his name? Andrew. Then Andrew went to find his brother. Do you remember his brother's name? It was Simon, but when Jesus first met him, he changed his name to Peter. All right. Which of these two brothers wrote 5 New Testament books? I'll give you a clue. His name is in 4 of them. John. He wrote 5 New Testament books. Who was John's brother? James. Now, what job did all 4 of these men do? They were fishermen. They had a fishing business together. In what city? Bethsaida. Now, the next man Jesus called came from the same city as the fishermen. Do you remember his name? That would be Philip. After Philip met Jesus, he ran to find a friend. What was his friend's name? Nathanael. And he was also called Bartholomew. Great job. We've already named 6 of the 12 disciples. Now, 2 of these names we need to use again because there were 2 men with the same name. Can you remember which names we need to list again? How about Simon? This Simon was called Simon the Zealot. Now, the other name we need to list again is James. This James was called James, the son of Alphaeus. That reminds me, this James was the son of who? Do you remember? He was the son of Zebedee. All right, next we have another disciple who wrote one of the 4 Gospels. The 4 Gospels are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We already talked about John, so which of the other Gospel writers was one of the 12 disciples? You're right, it was Matthew. He was also called Levi, and his job was tax collector. That's right. Which name goes in this box? Here's a clue. He was called Didymus the twin. Did you remember? His name is Thomas. That leaves just 2 blanks, and they actually had a name in common, but it was a name that no one would want because of the bad thing that one of them did. Can you say the name of the disciple that was paid to tell the soldiers where to find Jesus so they could arrest him? His name was Judas Iscariot. So this man's name was Judas also, but he was called Thaddeus. And sometimes he was called Judas, not Iscariot, so he wouldn't be confused with Judas. All right, we got all 12. You did fantastic. Now I have one more question for you. Which two disciples did Jesus call the sons of thunder? Yes, James and John, the sons of Zebedee. Great job on that disciple review.
I'm gonna walk in the footsteps of Jesus. I'm gonna follow his pathway every day. Do what my Lord would do, go where my Lord would go. Say only words my Lord would say. I'm gonna walk in the footsteps of Jesus, following his perfect way. Jesus calls to every disciple, love as I have loved every day. Christ alone should be our example, his life still leads the way. I'm gonna walk in the footsteps of Jesus. I'm gonna follow his pathway every day. Do what my Lord would do, go where my Lord would go. Say only words my Lord would say. I'm gonna walk in the footsteps of Jesus, following his perfect way. Listen to the words of the Savior. I will make you fishers of men. Go and tell the news of salvation. Soon I will come again. I'm gonna walk in the footsteps of Jesus. I'm gonna follow his pathway every day. Do what my Lord would do, go where my Lord would go. Say only words my Lord would say. I'm gonna walk in the footsteps of Jesus, following his perfect way. Following his perfect, following his perfect, following his perfect way.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm an EMT, an emergency medical technician. Does anyone know what an EMT does? EMTs are healthcare professionals who are trained to respond to emergencies outside of the hospital. If you are sick or hurting, you can call 911 and an EMT or paramedic can come straight to you with some of the same services that you can find in an emergency room. Encountering so many people in order to help them is really rewarding, but this can be a tough job too. It makes me look forward even more to the day when there will be no more pain and suffering. When Jesus encountered people on earth, he changed their lives in extraordinary ways. As you hear in today's Bible story, think about our big picture question. This question helps us remember that God is doing something even bigger and beyond the specific events in the story. The question is, what makes people special? This is a great question. Jesus spent a lot of his time on earth with people. And here's the answer. People are special because we are made in God's image as male and female to know him. Jesus came to earth as Emmanuel, which means God with us. Jesus began his ministry when he was about 30 years old, according to Luke 3:23. He called his disciples to follow him and spent much of his time with people. We'll find out today how Jesus changed the lives of many people through his early miracles.
Jesus traveled to Capernaum with his disciples Simon, Andrew, James, and John. He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath and began to teach. The people there were very surprised. Jesus' teaching was not like the scribes' teaching. He spoke with authority. Just then, a man with an unclean spirit shouted, "What do you have to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Jesus commanded the spirit to be quiet and come out of the man. The spirit yelled again and then came out. Everyone was amazed. "Who is this Jesus?" they asked. "He teaches with authority, and the unclean spirits obey him." News about Jesus spread quickly throughout all of Galilee. Next, Jesus and his disciples went to Simon and Andrew's house. Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever. Jesus went to her, took her hand, and healed her. She got up and began to serve them. That evening, large crowds of people came to the house with others who were sick or bothered by evil spirits, and Jesus healed them. Early the next morning, Jesus went out by himself to pray. Simon and the other disciples found him and said, "Everyone is looking for you." Jesus said, "Let's go on to the nearby villages so I can preach there too. This is why I have come." Jesus traveled throughout Galilee. He preached and drove out demons. A man with a skin disease came to Jesus. He got on his knees and begged, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus was willing, and he healed the man. Jesus' miracles prove that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God. They strengthened people's faith and met their needs. Through Jesus, God did what is impossible for us to do on our own. He provided forgiveness, salvation, and eternal life.
I will make you fishers of men, fishers of men, fishers of men. I will make you fishers of men if you follow me. If you follow me, if you follow me, I will make you fishers of men if you follow me.
Woo!
All
Good
right.
job. Good.
Good job. You ready to do it faster?
Okay, let's take a breath.
Here we go. Take
Ready?
a breath. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
We're ready. Here we go.
I will make you fishers of men, fishers of men, fishers of men. I will make you fishers of men if you follow me. If you follow me, if you follow me, I will make you fishers of men if you follow me.
Good
Woo!
job.
High five.
I hope you have your Bible there with you this morning. We're going to fill out this chart that you have on your worksheet for today. If you don't have your Bible or your worksheet, you can pause the program and go get them so you'll be ready to review along with us. Today, we're going to be looking at the book of Mark in the New Testament. Remember, the Old Testament is the bigger part of the Bible, and it's at the front. So you're going to want to turn to the back part of the Bible to find the book of Mark. Maybe you'll open up to one of the gospel books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. Then you can find your way to Mark chapter 1. This is where we read about the 3 miracles that we saw in the video today. We want to fill out this chart that asks who was healed, where did it happen, and how did the people react for each one of these miracles. So in Mark 1:21, we read that Jesus went where? It says he went to the synagogue. So that's where the first miracle happened. Go on down to verse 23, and it tells us about the man who needed to be healed. He had an unclean or evil spirit, but Jesus had power and authority over the unclean spirit and commanded it to come out of the man, and it did. Look at verse 27. it says that the people were all amazed at what Jesus did. All right, the second miracle happened right after the first. Verse 29 tells us that as soon as they left the synagogue, they went where? They went to the home of Simon and Andrew. Verse 30 gives us the answer to the question, who was healed? It said Simon's mother-in-law was sick with a fever, so Jesus healed her. How did people react to this miracle? Look in verse 32 through 34. It says that the whole town came to the door and brought the sick and those who were bothered by evil spirits so Jesus could heal them. That must have been so exciting. The third miracle is recorded for us in Mark 1, starting with verse 39. Jesus said he wanted to preach in the nearby villages, so he traveled throughout Galilee, preaching and healing people. So this miracle happened in Galilee. Verse 40 tells us that a man with a skin disease called leprosy came to Jesus. He was considered unclean by all the people, and nobody wanted to touch him. He asked Jesus to make him clean, so Jesus, filled with compassion, reached out and touched the man and immediately healed the leprosy, and the man was cured. How did the people react to this miracle? You can read it for yourself in verses 43 through 45. At the very end of the chapter, it says that people came to Jesus from everywhere. I really enjoyed reading about Jesus' miracles right from the Bible. I hope you'll keep your Bible out where you can see it every day and take time to read it. You could start right here in Mark and just keep reading about all the miracles Jesus did while he lived on earth.
Yes. Ready? Yeah. Okay. He is able, I know he is able, I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He is able, I know he is able, I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He heals the brokenhearted, and he sets the captives free. He made the lame to walk again, and he caused the blind to see. He is able, I know he is able, I know my Lord is able to carry me through. Awesome job.
We often teach and really love to hear about all the great miracles in the Bible. And you may think that they happened all the time in the Bible days, and why don't they happen now? Well, they didn't always happen in the Old Testament, only during certain times. And they only happened for a very special purpose. And one of the main reasons for the miracles was to show that a person or a message was truly from God. We can use the example of Moses, and God allowed Moses to do many great, powerful miracles, and that was to prove to Pharaoh that the God of the Hebrews was really the one and true God. There are many prophets throughout the Bible, and you can think of Elijah and trying to call Israel back from worshiping false gods, and he was able to do great miracles to show that his God, the God that Elijah was talking about, really was the true God. Jesus did some great and amazing miracles, and we're excited to tell you more about those. And again, those miracles are for the same reason. They are to show that not only his message, but that Jesus himself is God.
I am so glad that Rachel came today with her EMT outfit on and the ambulance, and it made me think about people who give their lives to help other people, people that are rescuers. You know, there's a lot of people who they get themselves into a situation and they can't get themselves out. They need somebody else to help them. These two children got trapped in some water and they needed somebody to come pick them up and carry them to safety. We think about firemen. If you woke up and found your house inflamed and the hallways were blocked and you couldn't get out. We're so thankful for those brave firemen who will come and risk their lives to come into the fire to rescue people from the burning flames all around them. If you were in rushing water like this person was, somebody had to get a crane and some chains and come over with a cable and rescue this person. They couldn't save themselves. They could barely hang on to the life jacket that was in front of them, but they could never get themselves over to shore. And there's a story about some young men who went exploring into a cave a couple years ago, and they got into the cave and they got to a space where the water came in and it filled up all the tunnels and they couldn't get back out. They were high enough that the water didn't reach them, but they couldn't get out. And there were a lot of people who spent a lot of time looking for them and searching for them and rescuing them because they could not rescue themselves. And it makes me think about Jesus. He is our rescue. You know, there are many people who have a rescue job. There are doctors, there are police, lifeguards, nurses, EMTs. There are all kinds of people who train to be a rescuer. But not everybody needs to be rescued. I've never had a lifeguard jump in to save me. I've never had my house on fire where I needed a fireman. I haven't needed to be rescued. But when it comes to sin, the Bible tells us that every person needs to be rescued from sin because we've all sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And because the wages of sin is death, we need to be rescued. And there's only one person who can rescue us from sin, who can save us from sin, and that is Jesus Christ. Can you imagine? People need to know. They need to know that there is someone that can rescue them from sin and save them from sin. And we're so glad that Jesus became a human, that he came to earth and lived a perfect life, the life that we can't live, and he became our rescue so that we can spend eternity with God in heaven forever.
Rich in mercy, because of his great love he loved us. Even when we were dead in our sins, made us alive together with Christ. By G-R-A-C-E and S-A-V-E-D. Because of God's great love, God who is rich in mercy, because of his great love he loved us. Even when we were dead in our sins, made us alive together with Christ. By G-R-A-C-E and S-A-V-E-D. Because of God's great love.
Hi, I'm Lolli Holiday, and I love holidays. Today is a holiday. Do you know which one? Oh yeah, it's Mother's Day. That's a very special day, but that's not all we have to celebrate today. There's another special day today, and when you put it together with Mother's Day, it makes it like a super double holiday. You know, like a double dip ice cream sundae with whipped cream and a cherry on top. It's that kind of a holiday. So, do you want to know what national day it is today? Yay! It's National Clean Up Your Room Day. I am not even kidding. I was so excited when I found out that it happens every year on May 10th. And this year, it just so happens to fall on Mother's Day. So here's what you should do when National Clean Up Your Room Day falls on Mother's Day. You should give your mom a big kiss and a hug. Tell her how much you love her and give her all the cards and flowers and presents you got for her. Make sure she gets some really good food that she really likes. Then let her have some time all by herself to do whatever she wants. And then, on top of all that, like the whipped cream and cherry on a double-dip sundae. Clean up your room. Yes, let me say it again. Clean up your room. Whoa, what a blessing that will be to your mother on Mother's Day. I know she'll love it. I hope you can celebrate Mother's Day and National Clean Up Your Room Day. Remember, the present is a gift from God, so celebrate every day by loving God and serving Him with a joyful heart. I'm Lolli Holiday, and I wish you many happy holidays.